Yeah, we're good.
All right.
All right, let me just give a quick intro here. Of course, we got Michael and myself over here, but the real guest star today is Ryan Groth, and did I pronounce that right, Ryan?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, okay, good, good. Could have been Groth. I was like, damn. All right, so Ryan Groth, our big guest here, and I feel like I'd be really missing out if I didn't tell people that you were a professional baseball player at one time. To me, that is just an enormous accomplishment. All of the people that I meet in my life that are like that get something done, that are accomplished, that do something amazing, they've all got some sort of professional athleticism in their lives. So to me, that's a huge deal. But while you're on the call, isn't we didn't get Mike Trout on the call. We we got you on the call because you are a sales transformation expert, right? Your company is all about taking home service based industries to the next level by building a sales organization, sales culture, this like the kind of company that grows like wildfire. And I don't want to give too much. I'll let you say a little bit more about what you do, but we want you to share you with people because one of the things that I've personally come up and heard by speaking to the dozens and dozens of HVAC contractors and plumbers and roofers, whatever I speak to on a monthly basis, is that everybody thinks they're pretty good at sales, but their businesses and their numbers don't say that they're really amazing at sales and they build a great sales organization. And I think that there's a lot of questions that people kind of are afraid to ask or don't know to ask and about how to grow their business that I want to kind of ask through me from them to you today. But I just want to say thanks for popping on here. And of course, we got Michael Tesalona, my man, my partner here.
Yeah,
Um,
and another thing I would just add about Ryan to help you guys triangulate who we're speaking with today.
yes, please.
Ryan is he recently moved to Hawaii from Florida. He's a father of three, one more on the way, and after really leading a sales organization and helping that grow, learning. On the boots, not on the ground knowledge of really how to build a sales organization in the service business. He's gone on to help, I say at this point, like dozens, if not hundreds of home service companies to develop their sales staff. So we're really excited to speak with Ryan here. I think that, professionally, he's got a lot to offer, and personally, you guys are going to love him.
Yep.
Thanks, Michael and Eric. Appreciate you guys having me on, man. It's great.
Yeah, and one more thing, just about you, Ryan, just in case you didn't get a big enough ego here, is that people. So it's like you always want to take. I don't want to say like advice, or you want to take coaching or training from people who have actually done the thing that you're going to do. So Ryan has worked and built a successful roofing organization, and Ryan, I believe you could tell me the number of companies you work with in home services in the last decade or so. I don't want to say the number because I think it's really high, and I don't want to undershoot it. But you've done this. You're on the court right now. You're speaking to dozens of companies, helping them right now. So I just want to make that really clear. This isn't like yesterday's news of what works. This isn't a year ago. This is right now what's working.
Yeah, for sure. It's just what we do. It's what I'm helping people do, and grateful to be able to do that right now and help people grow, help companies grow. And so, yeah, happy to share plenty. I'll give you a little bit of background, and then we can dive right in. But just about the credibility and what we're accomplishing through our clients and with them. Yeah, we're really just helping motivated owners and executives build these sales organizations for within their company. And yeah, we talk about that culturally. We talk about the structure, the processes, but it's a game changer when that environment's shaped. But yeah, after playing pro ball, you aspire and want to have a long big league career. It didn't happen to what I was dreaming and working so hard towards. But what you do along the way is you become part of something. You become part of a team. There's you rely on one another. It's individual performance amongst a team, and you're around high performing talent, and you're working really hard to try to win a championship and to produce and hopefully make a lot of money for yourself and have a future. And so I found that whenever that chapter was over and I was looking at what to do with business and what opportunities were going to be created through relationship, I met a contractor that in South Florida who was also a team sport guy, played at University of Miami. And he had a software that he put in place to help him really track and measure his sales team to bring more visibility, much like a scoreboard or analytics tool in sports. And what that did is it shaped measurement, and accountability started to shape performance in the way that he envisioned. And I got to be an integral part of that, leading it and coaching it, training it, and helping others do that since 2013. And then it got to a point where I enjoyed it so much where the passion of coaching and consulting kind of took on a life of its own. And I've been doing that with home services and commercial businesses for the last 2 years, completely on my own. And we've got, about 150 companies now that we're engaging in coaching, consulting to help shape and design a very healthy, service-oriented sales organization. So I'm excited to dig into that with you guys, because it's something that this industry really struggles to shape well, and those who do it well are creating some very profitable and fun brands. So,
when you God. Profitable is like an understatement of a lifetime. Michael, continue.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, you bring up baseball, and Eric had mentioned how it seems like people who have excellence in one area just tend to sort of carry over that excellence into others. One thing that I've been struck with through our conversations, Ryan, is you actually it almost seems like you actually use the terminology players when talking about the salespeople or the technicians in an organization. And I was just wondering if you could talk about that, maybe to start, like the terminology you use and how you view them, and how you think that the sports analogy carries over into sales.
Yeah, I think that when you look at sports, it's like one of the best lenses to look at for business, because you're performing, you're winning, you're losing. You look at what happened. Like for me, whenever I work so hard for a passion to compete and to play and to progress and to, you get more satisfaction out of winning than the money per se. The money is expected. You want that, but you want the value to equate to what you're creating. But when you're playing the game, it's like I don't do it for the money. Like, for example, I'm on Maui. We're on a hike with my family, and we met an older couple who's been on the island for a long time, and we struck a conversation, and the baseball thing had come up. Not that I lead with it. It's pretty lame to lead with that. It wasn't that impressive, but it came up, and he was like trying to discuss like a softball ringer, like be a softball. And let me tell you, like I get excited. Like I got to fight the urge to say, yes, when's the next game? Right. Because I think that when you look at sales or people like to compete, they love to win. They hate to lose. They like to be a part of something. And oftentimes when in business, they're left in their own island. The technicians or the people that are bringing in business are just kind of left to themselves. And when you're used to being a part of team sports, there's camaraderie, there's recognition, there's honor, there's MVPs, there's first place, second place, third place, there's scores, there's rankings, there's just a constant flow of like, how am I doing against the rest? And, when you're a competitor, your value and your identity isn't in necessarily, am I making money or am I the best per se? Because I think we're all valuable, but in business, we're competing. Like we're out there either winning or losing. We're out there playing to win. So I think that for those who love the joy of competition and camaraderie, which I think most entrepreneurs who are growth minded care about that to a degree. They want to know, are they the best? You know, how does the best look? Are they in their own world? Are they in a league of their own, or are they competing? It's a lot of fun to really meet that desire of your team members' hearts, you know, and minds by shaping that amongst yourself, you know. And when you do that in your own company, I'll tell you that it gets more people to take more action and to change and to grow and to go to bed at night sleeping on time, you know, not not having bad habits, taking care of their health, being more disciplined, having more focus, more accountability, more productivity, more around peer pressure and the environment that's been shaped than them just being left on their own island. And hey, you make more money when you sell more, which is cool. But we need to be a part. People long to be a part of like a family, a team, as something that's bigger than themselves. And I think when we meet them with that need by shaping a team culture that's based around performance and productivity and accomplishments and even some intangibles that are not specifically tied to business but have the outcomes that you want in your culture, it's pretty special. You know, I work with a sales evaluation company that I use to really create development scopes for salespeople to grow and in their sales competencies. And I'll tell you what, it's crazy. 65, 70% of salespeople are motivated intrinsically, which means that they're more motivated by knowing they're doing well and that they're growing and they're doing a good job than they are by just making enough money so they can buy a new toy.
Ryan,
So,
I just want to, you said so many good things. Can I latch on to a couple of them right now? Because just like the weaving into sports and sales, like I'm personally an athlete and personally a salesperson. And those are the two things that I've probably put the most energy in my life into on a daily basis. You know, besides other spiritual pursuits, let's say. But what you just said about, like, you asked the question, how do I know if I'm winning? Which is a question that people, they can sometimes gloss over. Like, what are the KPIs, right? Like, how do I know if I'm a good hitter? Is, well, I'm going to look at my, like, you know, one of the things I'll look at is my batting average, right? But that's, you know, that's one way of looking at it, right? Because if I've got 1,000 strikeouts, whatever, I mean, if I got a ton of strikeouts, but my batting average is really high, I could definitely improve big time. And so for me, I remember when I first got to a sales organization, and they did everything you said. It was like, there was the people that were amazing in terms of they made a lot of dough, and there's the people that were really happy being a part of the team. And those people helped make money too, but they created a power that was greater than the sum of the parts. And I'll never forget the first thing that happened that really got me going is I didn't take the job because I was like, I'm going to become rich. I didn't take the job because I thought I was going to become the best. I took the job because I wanted to pay my rent. But once they started having these monthly sessions in which they would show you like, oh, this is the person who set the most appointments. This is like the top 5 people who ran the most appointments. These are the top 5 price per deal. All of those things showed up. I saw sports and I was like, wait, I like to be the best. I need to be at the top of those categories. And it wasn't like every call wasn't like, it wasn't like you go up to the plate, I'm going to hit a home run. You know, you can't think that necessarily. I mean, at the level that I was at, you can't think that. You think I'm going to work harder to get this metric met. I'm going to do, and then that's what happened. The next month, people like, oh, Eric, his name's on here. They didn't even know who I was. The next month, like, whoa, how is he? Boom. Next month, oh yeah, he's at the top. And I made more money, but I could tell you 100%, it was never about the money. For me, I just couldn't stand seeing my name not on the top list. I could not sit there watching other people be at the top. Couldn't do it.
And there's a lot of people like technicians in HVAC that are wired the same way. I'd say a majority of them are. And they don't have to be experts in the field yet. They don't have to know everything. They just got to have that, you know.
Well, one question that I have about that is, I've noticed that it seems that, the people who are really good at sales, like they do tend to have that competitiveness to them. It's almost as if like there's a certain breed. And I'm just kind of curious, Ryan, from your experience, like, because for somebody to be a great tech, there's a lot of things, they need to be able to troubleshoot problems, especially with these AC units, really diagnose what's going on. They need to have really good customer service skills, so that people like them. I mean, they're walking into people's homes, and at the same time, there is that sales aspect. So like, what are you seeing in terms of the personality? Is this something that, you put anybody in, if you build the right environment where you have these metrics and you're tracking the KPIs, and you really build it to be a team, is this something that anybody can really, thrive in? Is it only certain personality types? Now, what are your thoughts on that?
Sure. I think that the ticket size and the sales cycle does dictate the type of skill set needed. When you have a low ticket, high volume, interpersonal type of environment, like let's say this home service environment, you're definitely going to want somebody who they're not upselling like from $5,000 to 150 grand, right? In the home. They're like, basically, that's not happening. So what you want is somebody who cares, they care about excellence, and they show up and they want to do a great job. I think that you don't need as much of a killer in that sense, because essentially the sales already basically made, and they upsell a little bit. So I just think you need somebody who cares and is going to be pretty focused. And then of course, when you start to get into like higher level deals, like in the light commercial, regional kind of accounts, you need somebody who's a little bit more dynamic and who's going to be more consultative than ever and have a really strong milestone centric sales process. So I think that when you have, so to answer your question, we just need people who fit the core values and who care and who do have a need on those lower level type of sales environments. So the ticket sizes aren't incredibly high. It's not going to require a ton of technical skills. But I think that with working with literally hundreds of companies, the most success we've had is when the owner, the company, really playbooks out the technical aspects of how we do what we do and how you troubleshoot. Because you can take the character of somebody that you enjoy being around, that you'd have a beer with. That's the kind of vibe we want is, could you have a beer with them? Could you big the campfire with them? Would you enjoy time on the campfire with them if you're going to go camping? And then that character really is what we want. And then having the technical expertise is something that I think that you shouldn't have as a requirement for any of your sales techs, your hires, because you should standardize that and have a best practice method that you playbooked it, you video recorded it, and you standardized it, and everybody follows suit. But what's going to make that person be great is their desire to be a part of your vision, to hopefully make some more money, and to hit the KPIs that you're shaping and want to be the best. The level of skill, though, as your business model evolves and the higher the skill is, the different level of kind of athlete you would look for. So you don't need to have, you're not drafting first rounders, on that model. You just need like a decent college team, but then what happens is when you have, like, I look at the Orlando Magic, they have a 30 for 30.
And the Shaq and Penny?
Yeah, that one, the Shaq and Penny.
God, it was amazing.
This magic moment, you seen that?
Yeah, at least once, dude. I mean, Shaq is my favorite player.
Yeah, he's awesome. I could see that your personalities are definitely similar. So what I've noticed about that is it's funny, like had their team. The Magic were the Magic. It was crazy how they started. And then once Shaq came on, it changed the game. Once Penny came on, it changed the game. And I think that depends on where you're at, but you always want to be looking at, am I recruiting talent that's going to make everybody else on the team say, oh, snap, like Eric's now here. Oh, snap, like Shaq's now here. And I think that depending on where you are starting out is going to kind of enable you to look at what level of talent you can bring into your company. But I can tell you right now, like A players, like, let me just make one more comment. When I was playing ball and I started to like get the confidence that, hey, I think I'm going to be pretty good. I just got drafted by the Pirates. I'm looking at college options for leverage on the next, before the deal is offered. When a Division II program was offering me, it didn't have the appeal and the prestige because I wanted to go pro. So they had to have said, we pumped out a lot of draft picks for me to be attracted, right? So what's that look like for a sales guy? It's like, well, we pumped out a lot of $100,000 a year guys, right? Or such and such, things like that. Like there needs to be an outcome that like high performers say amen to. So like
pathway, Ryan, what you're saying is you need to, when you come onto my business, you need to say, I have a pathway for you to make this happen.
Or else high performers aren't going to say I'm in because they want to grow. They want to be the best, right? So like for me, I went to Division I school because it had Division I prestige. It was ranked in the country 30th the year before signed. They made it to the super regional, lost against Clemson. 8 guys got picked up. It was just a bunch of variables that checked those boxes. I went and I had a great year. I got drafted. So anyway, I just been saying that depending on the level you are at and like where your sales organization, and guess what? That comes back to the vision of the owner and what do they really want? It goes back to what kind of organization they want to build and why. What's the point? So you got to definitely have a pretty dynamic visionary leader, and you don't have to be, you don't have to be the Clemson coach to do that. You just got to have a vision that you have some conviction on, and then you can start upgrading your talent like a sports general manager does and say, all right, where's my Shaquille O'Neal? Where's my Penny Hardaway? And then
probably more like a Jerry Krause. Where's my Dennis Rodman, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the analogy of bringing 8 players on, and it's real. It's very real. When you give the story of like Shaq and Penny, joining the Orlando Magic. I think that a lot of people, might say like, all right, I get it in theory, but in practice, the hardest thing that I'm doing in my business is attracting, key talent. So, what have you seen the most successful organizations do in terms of being able to really get those people in?
First question is, let me ask you guys, what's the first thing that happens when somebody's getting recruited to a college? What do they do?
Visit the school?
No, let's say you're a high school prospect and colleges are looking at you. What is it they're trying to get you to do before
they want you to commit.
Before they sign you? What do they try to get you to do?
Well, they're trying to get you a workout. I want to see this guy work out.
And they want you to go on a visit, right?
Yeah.
So what is it about the visit that changes the whole game for that prospect or helps create the outcomes?
They can see themselves there.
You have 1 foot. You have 1 foot in already. You
got 1 foot in.
A commitment.
So then they go, they're like, ooh, the weight room's awesome. The weight coaches seems really cool. Look at the facilities. Look at the locker room. Look at this. Look at their pedigree. Look at their culture.
Trophies. Their trophy
their
case.
Accomplishments. Like look at the awards they got for top manufacturer elite program of the train or the whatever the HVAC product is. Look at the magazine they were on for the
HVAC mag. Let's just call it that.
You know what I mean? Look at that. You know what I mean? Like that stuff, it really matters for talent because they're like, these are winners. So I would say the biggest thing is your facility needs to be decent. If you look like a mom and pop shop, people aren't going to want to be there. They're not going to want to be a part of it. They're going to feel like they're a big fish in a small pond. And it kind of feels like, playing at a Division III school that has no upside. that has no chance for them to become a pro. And for an A player, I mean, gosh, they just want to be able to make $100,000 as fast as they can so that they can get out of poverty and get out of where they've been in their life. And they want to be able to like have a mortgage and take their family on vacation and feel like a winner. Like that's kind of like the baseline need for everybody.
And if you can't, it's what I'm hearing from you over and over again. This is like, and this is not the thought that I didn't predict this happening, is if you just want to grow a business, you need to have a pathway for someone to make the dream, which is that $100,000 plus salary, doing what they're supposed to do, you guiding them like, hey, this is, if you want to hit a home run, well, there's first base, right? There's second base, third base. All right, now come back here. Like, and you just got to get up at the plate and hit that ball or bunt, whatever it is. This is the pathway. These are the multiple pathways to do that. And, but the other thing I'm also hearing from you is like, hey, you've got to have something to show them, like a brag sheet. But here's the thing that I think is kind of tough, is that nowadays in terms of business model, it doesn't always make sense for an HVAC company to have a warehouse or an office. It doesn't always make sense. Now, of course, if you have many trucks, you have to park them somewhere, of course. But there's a lot of people who are very successful HVAC companies that I know that that purposefully have set their business up so they don't have that high overhead. And so if they don't have the office, of course, they have a place, or maybe they have a smaller office. I'm thinking, what are the things that I can, if I'm the owner, that I can show my potential, my prospective employees how I'm awesome?
That's a good question. I'm actually doing this right now, and I'm teaching some of my more innovative clients to do this, especially with like the remote sales game that we're able to have.
Yeah.
Is, you just need to have a compelling slide deck that shows proof of like that you guys are making money and that you guys are doing it for the reasons that you want to do it for. Like, what's the reason? What's our vision? And then show how the numbers play out, like, and how that they do this, and then there's training and coaching and support and resources for them, and they can work out of their house, work in their local market. They get a truck, whatever the perks are, right? And it shows them, it's like, hey, you get your uniform, check. You get a bat, you check. We got team gloves, check, right? You have a helmet, check. We're gonna have opportunity and training. We're gonna practice regularly. You're gonna be a part of a training program. You're gonna learn from others, check, right? So, but the reality is you are the one, let's just talk about the salesperson that's listening to this. You're the one who's gonna make this happen, right? You're the one that's gonna, we can give you the fundamentals all day, but you got to be a believer in yourself, and you're the one that has to do the work. So you kind of like, I'm doing this right now, and I show a slide deck on how to serve an awesome industry, make an impact, and earn $5,000 to $20,000 a month in 6 months or less. That's like my pitch. And so they go on, they're watching it, and they're seeing the track record, who we're helping, who we're serving, why the industry's never leaving, why we have a spirit of meritocracy, in our business, where they got to earn it, and A players are attracted, and what our core values are. I put this up 5 weeks ago. I have 1,200 views of the video. I've had 800 people apply, and it's commission only. And and I've hired 6 reps that I've vetted and interviewed in groups in 5 weeks since starting this, and $30,000 of sales last week. So the first one was made in 3 weeks, and the second one in 2 weeks, where 2 guys made their first sales after a week of discovery calls and strategy sessions were conducted. So the same model appears, it can appeal to any business. It's just, you got to have an environment, and slide decks are great. You can pre-record it once and stick it on a page on your website and have people watch it and apply. So there's a lot of amazing options there out here with today's world. But it'd be like a recruiting video to get somebody that says, oh, dang, that resonates. I like that guy's, his style. This seems amazing. It's not just about the money, but I can make the money. I think you can have your cake and eat it too. You know, you can have a culture that people are growing and their lives are being changed and they're transforming. Like, this is freaking awesome, and make bank. I think a lot of times some people have one or the other, where you give them the opportunity for bank, but they're like on an island. They're left to their own devices. Nobody cares. There's no training, no investment, no. And then there's some they coddle and cushion and cuddle, but they're not making any money. So I think that people can have their cake and eat it too. But I don't know if that answers your question. I think
No, I think that that's really great,
does.
because I mean, I was thinking to myself, how big does the artifact need to be? You know, obviously you don't need to have, you know, one of these like Silicon Valley type, you know,
Building. You don't have
startup
to have a
offices.
building with your name on it, like with a huge logo on the outside.
Yeah, you don't need, but actually to hear that it really could just be a sales deck, you know, is phenomenal. And it's actually, it's surprising. But then at the same time, it does make a lot of sense. Another question that I had, you know, related to that, especially if you have a bunch of techs who, you know, aren't necessarily meeting up all the time in person, is how do you develop that sense of competition and also that sense of camaraderie with people who aren't necessarily even in the same building, you know, on a daily basis, or even possibly on a weekly basis?
Yeah, I think CRM, Slack channels, and daily huddles is important. So CRM is a scoreboard, right? And you need to lead with that with your weekly meetings. And you don't want to be the guy in the game film room who's like missed every tackle and didn't show up that week. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be that guy. So like, you create that environment where you lead with the numbers, you lead with the proof, like Eric was when he was at that sales job. You know, he doesn't want to
Yeah.
be the guy. So you do that regularly. I think the more frequent that's up, the better. And Slack channels are beautiful. I love Slack channels. I mean,
Slack is king. I mean, if you're listening to this and you don't know what Slack is, it's kind of like, I mean, Brian, you could probably just back this up really easy. It's like, how did I live my life without this? Essentially, that's how I felt after I had Slack. Slack is like a combination of text messaging and email, except like 10x better than both. And you never lose anything, and you never lose track of anything, and it's life changing.
And I love it too, because a lot of the common like systems out there and like tech like integrates into Slack. So you can have things post in the Slack, you know, when a sale is made or QuickBooks receipt, you know, or an invoice is created in QuickBooks, it can post in a channel and it shows that a sale was made. Your CRM status updates can post in Slack when a sale is made. So like, I know that when you're watching sports and somebody hits a home run, immediately the scoreboard reflects, right? It's like, boom. Like it's so I think that having a news feed, a channel feed for your own company that's not mixed up with Facebook, that's not mixed up with email, not mixed up with text, changes the game. So I love Slack for that. Morning huddles are really important. You know, your team lead, your team captain. It's funny, like, we're shaping an entire culture within my own organization based around this, because nobody's doing it. Like, now I have 7 guys. I have one VP, or he's a director of player development is what his title is. And he's incubating teams of 7 where we'll like have a team captain. And then I'm recruiting the next team captain to basically be the lead of 7. Of 6 people. So now I'm creating these teams of 7 that are popping up.
Yep.
Once I have more than 2, I have a competition. You know, now I have a competitive camaraderie where the game it's not regionally based. Everything's the equal playing field. So the best man wins, the best team wins, right? The best coach, the best players, the most committed, the most, you know, finding the best ways. So as soon as you put a competitor in an environment where they're not the best,
they have to become the best.
They have to become the best, then they do more, right? So now instead of having a team of like one manager with like 20 and then 22 and then 25 and 30 reps, it's now I'm forming a league in my own world.
I think that's absolutely brilliant. I'm like really excited about the concept, and I love how this is all based off of a really fundamental understanding of, you know, what motivates people, and how, you know, it's very clear that you've got your finger on that pulse. I'm curious though, how does that differ with, your clients? Because, you talk about, you creating that for your organization, but like, in what ways, like, does that mirror or differ from the organizations that your clients are creating, or is it just exactly the same and, just with relatively few tweaks?
Yeah, with my clients, I've shaped that environment within my clients too, or have awards that I give out with my annual conference. I've bolted on an LMS that gives people the ability to kind of accumulate badges and then rank them. So I'm trying to shape that within my own world so that people and
No, what I mean though is for your clients or for their organizations, for their sales organizations, are they building out teams of 7 with a leader themselves,
yeah.
or is it slightly different?
So yeah, I was just making that comment because some of them just have 2 or 3 sales guys, and I'm
Right.
like trying to help them see how do they compete with the other company that's in my community over.
Oh,
So I'm trying to say, right? So now it's like you're such and such roofing, you're such and such HVAC. I've made some neutral badges that are sales specific or sales leader specific that they accumulate that show a ranking in my world, so that they could say, oh, I'm the best sales organization because I've hit these milestones as an individual or a sales leader. So there's one component. And then you have within their own specific team, outside of the peripheral of other companies, I'd say that there's a few things. You just want to like motivate behavior through compensation, and then there's other behaviors that you can't motivate through compensation because you can't get compensation to check every box of motivation.
You cultivate them through culture.
You got to do that through culture. Yeah. So I would say there's a couple of variables. Within one team, you need to have some rewards and accomplishments that are recognized monthly. I think monthly is a really good number, and then you can chunk other awards out. And then I like peer voted awards too. It just depends on what you want to shape. But once that, when you have regional teams, it doesn't make the playing field equal. So if you're like, you cover this territory, you cover this territory, it just depends on how big your service market is. And if your company, if you pay a lot of salary and not commission, it makes recruiting and adding more players to your team more complex, right?
Much tougher.
Yeah. So I think that if you can have a culture, a system, and a support mechanism that allows for someone to get paid on commission, and yet you're still incredibly wildly profitable, then you can start to add you can start to draft as frequently as you like. And then you can shape from there. So that's kind of the world that I'm actually pioneering for myself, and helping others shape, especially when you're remote too. It really helps because I'll have teams where the teams of 7 are all over the world, but they're not regionally focused by team. Like I can't say, hey, team A is the Professor X squad. You guys are the Northwest, and the Avengers is in the Northeast. No, it's like everybody has their own individual prospecting across the country, but their team plays the same game as the other team, which is nationwide, industry trade specifics, right? So if you guys have how does that work on a local level? If you had, let's say, 10 people, you can split up 2 teams, have a team captain, and have 2 teams, but they ought to be overlapping the same territory, because what happens when, they have that neighborhood and that's a more rich neighborhood and it's not fair. You got to even the playing field, right? You got to make it even.
Yeah. So whenever you have games like this, there's an incentive to cheat, and this is something that speaking to a lot of our clients has come up, where if you switch to the model where the technicians are getting compensated based off the size of the deal, there is that incentive to balloon up the deal, and the job and the ticket more so than is really necessary. And so, what are your thoughts on that? How do you usually coach business owners on sort of monitoring that and then combating it?
Yeah, I'd say a couple things. Typically, salespeople, what they'll do is they won't sell higher deal sizes. They'll sell higher deliverable for the same price. So they'll end up like cutting into the margin more than they will making more money.
So you want to align commissions with the like company money equals more money for an employee.
It's all about the margin, dude, not at the sale. To me, it's all about the gross profit. So if you're really good at standardizing and predicting the margin on the back end and what you're going to make, that's a game changer. But if there's a lot of variables, either way, like my point is, if you have a standard, compensation or a standard ability to estimate, and then you do your job costing on the back end, and it's the same, like you can predict your margins every time, then you can pay commission because it's not going to change.
That's what I was going to say, Ryan, sorry to interrupt, because this is just one concept, which is at the sales organization I worked at, it was always this. It was like, I need to make sure that my employee is incentivized to sell the thing they make the most money when the company makes the most money. Their margins are directly proportionate to my margins. And that makes it so that cheating isn't possible, because you can only reward something that's beneficial for your company.
Yeah, that really solves the problem right there. And so,
well, you could have techs, walk into, some old lady's home and then decide, like, instead of repairing something quickly, they're going to, push to, change out an entire unit.
Okay, let me comment on that. Personally, I think that the best companies that have the best brands are service led. They lead with service, repair, restoration. They don't replace first. They service, repair, restore, then replace second, because people love to be served, hate to be sold, right? People are grateful for you, and they're going to work with you 70% of the time. If you service them, you're going to be the one they call to replace it if it was a good experience. So what I would do is, if you compensate, your sales organization is compensated based on service or replacement. Somebody who wants to make more money is going to go for the home run more often than not, and they're going to try to close somebody on something they don't necessarily need. So what I would do is I'd make sure that, first off, your service repair business margins should be very high, 60 to 75%. And you should motivate your salespeople to say, I'll make more money selling this repair than I would if I sell this replacement. Yeah, at first you're like, dude, that seems like it doesn't make sense. But what? Long term, it's a home run, because people just start buying repairs, referral, great experience, repair. And then you're the one that's getting the replacement, and it's really like a layup.
Yeah, what you're saying is actually something like, if I could summarize it, essentially, because like a unit has a shelf life,
7 years or whatever it is.
Yeah, a lifespan no matter what you do. So if you either repairing it for as long as you're repairing it, creating goodwill, and it needs to be replaced when it needs to be replaced, but there's no way in which you sell a new unit every 5 years to the same person. They're going to figure out, like, wait a second, you're either selling me a terrible product or lying to me. So winning that person's business for life is huge. So there's one more question, because we've been a while here. I want to, and then
we went on base hits, not home runs, right?
Yeah,
that's key.
You get the runners on and base and scoring position. So this is the thought that I had. This has been like running through my head the entire time. I think about myself when I was in this position. I think about an owner in this position, which is like, all right, I want to hire the A players. So I could hire someone who is like a top minor league prospect and be like, yeah, I know this person's going to kill it. Right. Like, Ken Griffey Jr. Right. Right. Or you could hire someone that, like, wow, I really see the potential here, and I'm going to bring them up in my farm system. I feel like we just can't help it but talk baseball, but you know what I mean? And it's just like, if I think of my perspective on me when I was hired, was like, I just need to get work here and get going. And then once I got in, it was clear that I was going to be like, I'm willing to work so hard and my competition's so high. So what I found was like, there's the people that like kind of like cock walked into the business, like they weren't always so great. They were not. They were not the people that did the best. Sometimes the people that did the best were people who were like, I'm going to follow this process. And so I guess what I'm saying is it's not that you can't always hire the A player. It's that you don't even know who the A player is sometimes. And like, and having people that are like the A minus B plus players can really round out a team really well. They're happy with what money they're making. You're still profitable, but they even kind of almost bolster up the rest. So like, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, when you have an environment to attract sales people where you're not hinging upon one player and you have that environment being shaped, you can take chances on people, right? And give them a shot. And I think that's pretty powerful because really you can change someone's life, dude, who's never had structure, who's never had a good coach, who's never had good guidance, and who's never had a vehicle to get them from point A to point B. And so I'm a big believer in that, especially if your sales organization is maybe outwardly or inwardly, like deep down, a place for change, you know, to change someone's life. That starts to be pretty powerful too. So you could say like, you know, especially when you're pitching the offer to potential candidates, be like, look, this guy was like, look at his LinkedIn profile picture before he started. It was a mess, you know, and look at him now, right? Or whatever. So I think that when you give someone a shot, I just want to say, yeah, I like what you're saying. It makes it, you know, it resonates with me because you want to give people enough of a chance. But if you don't have that model facilitated enough, or it's not set up that way, you're kind of feeling like, man, this guy's got to work. And that person starts to feel like, yeah, I'm the one who he needs. And then he starts to like basically try to run the show. And you don't have,
or run his own show.
Yeah, he runs his own show. Yeah, and it's like, I hear that all the time. Like they just do whatever they want, and accountability is one of the biggest concerns for a lot of owners. But then they feel handcuffed because they're like, if he doesn't sell, I have to sell, and then I'm back in the business, right?
Yeah, and I'm back in my toolkit, and I got to touch my tools again.
Back in it. And this isn't what I signed up for. I want to do well. I want to be able to spend more time with my family. I want to be able to build a business that earns money while I'm asleep, stuff like that, right? So I think that it's all about team building, right? And if you're building a team where it's just one person, you know, but HVAC, roofing, concrete, painting, this isn't golf. It's not tennis. Like it's a team sport, you know, it's
volleyball, bro.
Quick question, Ryan. How much time as a percentage of you know, the work week should the business be spent on recruitment?
For an aggressive org,
it becomes very time consuming very quickly if you don't have that kind of dialed vetting early. You got to kind of cut ties with like, I got to talk to every person. I got to see their face. You know, when you start to do that, you're going to be an owner who's just doing nothing but just talking to people that you shouldn't be talking to, you know? So I think that if you do it right, and I have a method for this, then you could spend basically one evening group interview after they've done a lot of things. They've watched the video, the opportunity, they've applied, they've seen your Indeed.
They've pre-committed through their time, essentially.
They've pre-committed, they've taken a sales aptitude test, and they're probably going to come back crappy. But the fact that they spent 45 minutes to an hour doing it after watching your 30-minute video and then doing your application shows that these people are like, they're in it. They want it. Not only they want it, they need it. They need it. And when you have people who need it, you have people who are going to work.
I needed it.
Dude, you don't bring in people who have all these options. They're not going to do anything. Like, oh, I have my MBA. I'm looking for this. Like, bro, then go make your 80K in bonus at the bank. Like, do it. Like, but that's not what this is about. Like, this is about you earn it and you can make way more than that. So when you kind of shape that up front, I do one group interview Mondays at 7 Eastern. There's 8, 9, 10, 11 people on. And then I just weed them out on the call. If I could tell they're just not going to work, I give them that up front. I say, you're amazing, you're valuable, but I'm looking for a certain type of person. If I can't see that, I want you to know that I could remove you from the interview, and then I don't want you to feel that. So
yeah.
And
red
just
flags. Wait, Brian, that's huge. I just want to make sure that people really heard that. Is essentially what I'm hearing. What you said was, when you see a red flag, you're like, this can't go on because it's a waste of our time. Like,
right. And you just gotta cut ties with like feeling like you're defending people. Like, dude, you're here to win. Like, do you think Nick Saban from Alabama is like worried about hurting the recruiter, his candidate's feelings? Like, no, he's here to freaking win. Like, he's got a mission here. And I think that's why the owner needs to know what they want. Like, what do you really want? And most of them haven't been able to dream outside of making a couple of million top line and netting barely any and working like a dog. So they got to like believe in themselves first off. And then the sales candidates are going to have conviction, feel the conviction and feel excited to be a part of it or not. Yeah, there's a risk. But my point is red flags. Red flags are going to be terrible written communication on answering the questions, like just not caring, like they're just sloppy, right? Like, dude, if you're trying to impress somebody, you are going to take a moment and you're going to make sure that junk looks right because you care, because the first impressions are everything. And and then just tonality or a lot of doubt or a lot of concern, and then worry and like all these questions. Like, listen, if you did a good job with your video and your application and the opportunities laid out, they're not going to have a ton of questions. They're just going to want to know, like, they're just going to want to know, like, is he going to allow me to join? And then I get a little ruthless and I actually charge them money to be on my team, a commitment investment.
Oh, wow. Ryan, this is good. Wait, so I want to make sure, because we're over on time, but I need to give people the opportunity to understand how to consume more Ryan. So how do they, if you had like 60 seconds, hypothetically, right, to give people an idea of what you can bring them, what your program is, whatever it is that you could like help people fulfill further on the seeds and the nuggets you've given them, what's that opportunity?
Yeah, so it's for people who failed to build a really great sales organization, or they don't know where to start and they just want to get there from A to Z a lot faster. And so I don't know if you've ever asked your kid to build a Lego kit without the instructions, but it's basically impossible. Like, you wouldn't know where to start. So I give you as a contractor that Lego kit. All right, this one, in an online course, and then group coaching to support that for sales leaders and salespeople. So basically, it's a transformative program called Sales Accelerator, the construction sales builder. It's designed specifically for owners and sales leaders to build these types of organizations. And it's basically composed of about 10 phases, 89 videos, and we do 2 coaching calls a week that are in groups, and we have some one-on-one support as a part of the package as well. So if you go to salestransformationgroup.com, a call to action that's all over there is get a price or get started, and then you just fill out a quiz, and it's about a 22 question application. It's not that heavy. It does take you to just engage the questions for a moment. It takes about 5 minutes, and then you can schedule an appointment with one of our growth consultants right after that, as soon as you're available. And then we can let you know what our offer looks like and how we can help. But essentially, it's an online course, group coaching support, and some one-on-one accountability support to help you build an organization. And it's a lifetime agreement. So when you pay up front, we do an upfront fee. So it is an investment. There's some skin in the game. You're going to say, dang, this may seem like a lot, but then if you look at the ROI, you're going to see 50 to 60 times in the first year, not even close. It just depends on how committed you are to being.
That's it. A badass. That's exactly it. All right. Well, dude, thank you so much for being on, Ryan. I know that like the flavor of coaching and advice and stuff like that you gave is super, super valuable. It's like, something that I haven't heard before. It is like a chocolate chip cookie dough, which is currently my favorite flavor of ice cream. So thank you so much for being on this, man. I mean, I'd love if you'd allow us back. I'd like to get some direct questions and feedback from people at some point, just to see what would be next, what else you could offer once they take some action on this. But once again, thank you so much. And I'm excited to see, actually we're going to put some of this stuff into action as well. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Great. Thanks, Eric. Michael,
Thanks,
appreciate
Ryan.
it. Yeah.